Hey guys, and welcome to this edition of Scruff's Garage. So for today's project, I'm installing a wall-mounted garage door opener in my new garage. I've already done one side. I'm really happy with it, so I'm going to move on to installing the other side, and I'm going to show you some information. This is the Chamberlain RJ0101. They have a couple of different models. You can check those out, and there's some slightly different specs. This video is not going to be a detailed, like step-by-step, put part A into part B kind of a thing, but rather to give you an overview of what's involved in the installation. Chamberlain has a really good video that goes into a lot of detail, but I feel like they glossed over a couple of things, so I'm going to just provide some installation tips and explain some things that to me just weren't very clear. When you get this, it doesn't give you an instruction booklet. I think they just expect you to go watch their video on YouTube. And so a few things just weren't quite as well explained as I thought they could be. So that's the goal for this video. I'll show you the install, but I'm not going to make you watch me run every single detail. So this opener, like I said, is the RJ series. The reason I selected this one, a couple of things for me. Most of the wall mount garage door openers have a cable tension sensor. It's a little lever arm that mounts up there, and it's like a little bracket with an arm that sticks out, and it monitors how much tension is on the cable, so if the cable broke or it came off the drummer or something of that nature. This model doesn't use that, and I wasn't completely sure that I was going to have room for that, and I've read a little bit some people having a hard time getting it adjusted correctly. So one of the things that's different about this particular model is that it doesn't use that sensor. It uses a door profile, and it tells you how to identify the door profile. I'm using a door profile 1, but you sort of give it some general context for how large is the door, how heavy is it, what size drum are you using, and then it self-calibrates to know how much load should be on the motor when it's going up or down. And so if something broke, it would know. So it bypasses needing to use a separate cable tension sensor, and I felt like that was going to be a benefit for my installation. This model also has the battery backup. This really wasn't that big of a deal for my use. This is a detached garage, so if the power were out, I could just come manually open the door, but it is battery backup, and I think that's kind of nice. The third thing is they include an overhead light. Compared to some of the other models, the overhead light uses an incandescent bulb. This one is an LED panel, and so it's a lower profile light fixture, because when they have the incandescent, it's just a little bit larger of a light. Since I have 8-foot ceilings in this garage, I'm fairly sensitive to anything protruding off the ceiling, so this being an LED and lower profile, I like that. And this also uses the MyQ app, so you can control the door from your phone. It'll send you notifications whenever the door opens or closes, and it ties into your Wi-Fi. All that, it's pretty cool, but you have to have the light installed for all that connectivity to work. So you do kind of need to have this installed if you want to use those features. So let's dive into some of the details of the installation. Okay, so just a quick overview of the installation. Honestly, this is a pretty simple install once you kind of understand what all is going on. So there's 3 things you have to hook up as far as wiring goes. There's the automatic door lock. So this will mount on the rail. I'll show you that, but it has a pre-terminated end. It just plugs in. You have the little trip sensors that go down at the base so that you don't crush a child or an animal or something like that. If something breaks that beam, it reverses the door. They give you these and the brackets to mount them on. Again, really simple. One is a white wire. The other is a white wire with a black tracer. You just tie them together and they terminate here, and I'll show you those. And then the last is the wiring for the wall control panel. Again, it's only 2 wires, a red and a white that's clearly labeled. I don't have that spool in front of me because I've actually pre-run some of the wiring, because I ran the wiring through behind the drywall for my installation. You could also surface mount it. It has little notches in the back of the panel, but I thought it'd be a little cleaner if I ran the wiring inside the wall. You don't have to do that, but is an option to make it look a little cleaner. And that's really all of the wiring. I spent more time when I was working on the other one tucking away the wires just to keep them nice and clean than it is actually installing all the stuff. So I'll move on to getting some like the coupler mounted. I'll show you that, and some wall brackets. They don't show you in any of the manuals that they give you a bunch of extra bolts, and it's not clear sometimes what some of this stuff goes to. So I'll just kind of show you what I used as I use it and explain it, and that way you can help sort out what you got. The other thing I'll show you when I get to the end, they include one single button garage door opener. I wanted a little bit more than that, so I ordered a universal 3-button, a universal like keychain, because I typically take this on the motorcycle with me, and a universal keypad for outside. And I can go ahead and tell you, these are super easy, even though they're universal and not Chamberlain branded, super easy to program. And what's neat, again, I'll show you up close. There's a learn button on this wall control panel. You press that twice and it communicates to this and puts it into a learning mode, and it makes programming sensors remotes super easy. Also, I've got a Jeep Gladiator with the home link. I programmed that, no issues at all. So I'll show you some of that stuff when we get to the end, but I can tell you up front, it's super easy using the learn button on the wall control panel. Okay, so I'm going to install my opener actually on the other side of the garage door, but it's a little easier to get you a good filming angle from over here, because there's some critical dimensions that you need to make sure that the wall mount garage door opener is going to fit. They list these out, and you can find it on their website if you don't catch everything that I say here. But you need at least 2.5 inches from the wall to the center of the torsion bar, right? So I'm at 3.5, but you need a minimum of 2.5, otherwise you're not going to have enough depth. You also need to make sure you're using a 1-inch torsion bar. It only fits that, so if you don't have that, that's not going to work. It also has to be this style with the spring in the center. Let's see, you need 3 inches between the ceiling and the center of the torsion bar, so that'd be vertical spacing. Now obviously I have an open ceiling to the ceiling rafter, the joist up here, so it's not an issue for me, but you would need at least 3 inches of clearance there. And the torsion bar needs to stick out at least 1.5 inches past the bearing plate. So there's a coupler that's going to mount on here, so you need at least 1.5 inches of stick out this way. I'm at 2 3/4 over here, so that's plenty, but you need at least 1.5 inches. You have to be using either a 4-inch or a 6-inch drum. So you can see mine is the 4-inch drum, but it's either 4 or 6-inch, and that's also some of the details that you'll give it when you're setting up the door profile. So I've got the door opener just laying on the bench here. I was trying to kind of illustrate the width that you need. So the clearance from here to this side with the coupler, you need a minimum of 8.5 inches of total width, or you're not going to have room for everything. I realized one thing that I didn't talk about at the outset that Chamberlain will talk about in their video, and there are some other dedicated videos on it, but it's making sure the door is balanced. So you should be able to open the door halfway and it stays up with its own the strength of the spring, so it's balanced. It shouldn't fall and it shouldn't shoot upwards. It should get halfway and it should be able to hold there. I actually bought a couple of the torsion bar rods and added a 1/2 turn to my torsion spring to get it so that this was balanced. It might have been fine without it, but I felt like just a little bit more. I would get it here and it would tend to want to just fall. So that's something I did separately in preparation for this installation. Okay, so we'll start setting up the opener before we mount it on the wall. So we need to put the coupler on. Coupler just slides on to the shaft. There is different sizes. This is the 1-inch side, and this is the larger size that fits on the opener, so you can only put it on one way. They recommend orienting this with the set screws facing forward towards the front of the opener. That way you can get to them to tighten them later on, especially once it's on the wall. So you can go ahead and run the set screws down on the opener side. We'll give these a final tighten before we're done, but this gets it started. Get my arm out of the way. The other thing, so you're going to need to mount this bracket to the side of the opener. This kind of helps support the bottom of the opener. It mounts to these two screws here, or screw holes. Those holes are not threaded. They give you these two little black machine screws. They are self-tapping. So I recommend get a nut driver or something and go ahead and run those in once before you get this to the wall. That way it cuts the threads, and that way when you have this up on the wall, it's a little more challenging to get to when it's mounted. That way the threads are already cut, and it just makes it a little easier to adjust and tighten things. All right, so I've got the opener with the coupler slid onto the torsion shaft, and I've got the little sad bracket loosely positioned. We need to make sure this is square to the torsion shaft so that it operates smoothly. But at the moment, it has a little bit of play in it. So I'm going to lightly tighten the set screws for the shaft. That takes some of the play out of it. So just a quick look. Got the sad bracket with the two little machine screws in place. We're going to mark holes for where to drill the lag bolts that will go here, but we need to make sure that it's square to that torsion bar. So I've got you can see that, the coupler in place, and it's lightly tightened. And I've got this pretty much where I want it, spacing, how close to the door opener or how far out that I need to be. Then I'll mark the holes. I'll drill some pilot holes for the lag bolts and then run those in. Okay, so here's the final look at that. Got the machine screws tightened to the side of the opener case, and the lag bolts tightened there, drilled pilot holes. They'll go in a little bit easier. And then if you haven't already, go ahead and tighten both pairs of set screws good and tight. And then at this point, the mounting of it is finished. And then we'll work on running the wiring. And like I said, it's really simple plug and play type of wiring, but I'll show you that as I get it set up. If you have any type of pre-existing garage door locks, like mine is the twist type, and it pulls the little locks on the sides. If those are in place, you'll need to get rid of those because there's an electronic lock that's operated by the garage door opener. So I'm just going to remove these. It's a pretty simple process on mine. Okay, so mounting the electronic door lock is super simple. It's mounted with just two Phillips head screws. Hopefully you can see that. So my garage door was already had spacing for the lock. If yours didn't, right, like if you're just the blank panel, they give you a little template that you can use a step drill bit and drill. The mounting screws are 2.5 inches apart. So I got looking at my garage door tracks and realized I already had a spot that I could mount this, this lock. They recommend putting it above the third roller, which would be up here, but that's not where my mounting spot already was, and I didn't want to have to drill. So I've got it mounted just above the second roller, and this works just fine. I've got it installed this way on the other door, and it's no problem. But like I said, you could drill if you needed to, but I would definitely check your garage door track and see if you already have a spot, right? You need two holes that size and then an opening for the deadbolt. And this works pretty well. And then the wiring is really simple. I've left this loose at the moment, but it comes up here and you can plug it in to either one of those ports. Either one will work just fine. Like I said, it just plugs in. All right, so we need to mount the little brackets that will hold the floor level sensors. These go on, they kind of clip this way. Like that, and then we'll mount the sensor. Also pay attention to how you've mounted this, because it's important that the sensors be at the same height side to side so that they can see each other. All right, so the sensors, really simple to mount. So there's a machine screw in there with a hex head, and that hex head is going to fit into a recess, and that holds it, and then a wing nut goes on the front side. The sensors are the same, but one has a longer cord than the other. That's for the far side of the door, the further away from the garage door opener. So just pay attention. You'll probably have plenty of cord either way, but just know that there is a difference in the sensors. One has a longer cord. Okay, so I'm mounting the wall control pad. I've already placed my wall anchors. That's going to depend on how you're mounting this. And like I said, I ran my wiring inside the sheetrock, but you could also surface mount. There's a little notch cut out. The wiring, one wire has a red tracer and the other is just a plain red wire. And then on the back of the panel, there's a red and a white. And it's just as simple as loosening those and making the connections. And these connections are still being made while the garage door opener is unplugged, so there's no power to this wire. And actually at the moment I haven't hooked up the other end of this wire to the garage door opener anyway. So now I'm just going to mount this to the wall. Okay, so here's a final look at our wiring connections. Like I said, pretty simple. There's three main connections that have to be made. We talked about this one earlier. This is for the electronic door lock. It's a pre-terminated end, and you can plug it into either of those connections, just a push connect. These two wires are coming from the wall panel. There's a white wire with a red tracer that goes to the red connection, and then the solid white wire goes to the white connection. Then these wires are coming from the ground level sensors on either side of the door. The two wires with a black tracer, you just tie those two together and they go into the black terminal. Then the two solid white wires, you do the same thing, twist those together and they go into the white terminal. You have your battery connection down here. Again, really simple, pre-terminated ends. You just slide those onto the little terminals and slide the battery in. This solid green light up here, if it's solid, it means the battery is fully charged. If it's flashing, it means the battery is charging. Okay, so we got the battery installed, all of our wiring done, the unit's plugged in. If you disconnected the door, make sure you've re-engaged it by pulling down on it. You'll hear it click. So now we need to set the door profile. So I know my door is a door profile 1, but they give you guidance based on the drum size and the size and weight of the door. You may need to do a different profile. But so you hit the middle button. Let's see. There we go. So I hit the button once, You see it blinking. It blinks in a series, it's just one blink. So it means I'm on door profile 1. So press and hold the button again. So now we're going to set the door travel limits. You'll notice that disengages the trip sensors at the bottom. So we'll hold the up button until the door is in the fully up position. Set, and now we'll go to the down position. Set. Now it's going to self-calibrate. So it beeps after you a bunch to let you know it's getting ready to run the door. And now it's going to go down. And there we go. And now the door is calibrated for both the door profile and the travel limits up and down. So it's ready to roll. We need to confirm that the pressure sensors calibrated themselves correctly. So we'll place a 2x4 in the path of the door. It should close, sense the pressure that it didn't close all the way, that something is blocking it, and it should reverse. Perfect. And you may be able to hear the unit is beeping. It means it sensed something was blocking its path. The wall control unit and the included remote are pre-programmed at the factory, so it doesn't require any programming on your behalf. Okay, so I'm going to program this universal remote to the new garage door. So we'll press the learn button twice and then press the button that we want to program. And you'll hear the garage door opener with the light overhead will click. And you can hear the garage door opens and closes. Here's a look at the overhead light module. Like I said, I've got 2 garage door openers, so I've got 2 lights. You need that in place to run the MacQ app. These are LED panels. Fairly low profile to the ceiling. I mounted mine fairly centered to the center of the garage just for simplicity. So I had a plug there, but you could mount them however you wanted. So there you go. Overall, the installation is really simple. Once you understand the wiring and a little bit about how it mounts, super easy. I think anybody can do this, especially in an afternoon. Overall, I'm super happy with these. They're incredibly quiet. This saves the overhead space because I've got a lower ceiling, so the wall mount is worth every penny. If you fool around and keep an eye on Amazon, their Prime Day, I got these on sale so you can save a little bit of money if you have time to shop for these. As always, thanks for tuning in to this edition of Scruff's Garage. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.